Today we are going to work with the Power BI introduction part. So before going to basically Power BI is data analysis tool, data analyst position, analyzing data, creating reports. That is comes under Power BI basically. So before going to discuss about Power BI, so better to discuss some scenarios related to what is database, what is data warehouse. These things really important for us. See, this is database. So what is the purpose of databases? See, databases are used to store different types of data. So data storage purpose, we use these databases, right? Coming to next scenario. To store data, we can go for files also. Different types of files available in the market. We can use those files for data storage purpose. Why we are going for databases? This is common question. See, when we are working with the databases, security, performance, and storage capacity. These are really important for us. So these scenarios can be provided by only databases. File system cannot provide these scenarios. So security, data level security also. For example, you are working with some database. What about data level security? Performance. Performance means the speed. Accessing speed of the databases comes under performance. In the same as storage capacity, because in real-time environment, we are going to work with the terabyte size of the databases. So their top level storage management is also really important for us. So these are all can be provided by only databases. That's why generally to store data, we use different databases. Even not only data storage, even you can modify data anytime you can modify data, and you can perform data retrieval operations. These are all can be done in RDBMS databases. So that is the reason why we are going for databases, basically. Coming to next scenario. So basically this Power BI is related to data warehouse. So what is data warehouse? What is the difference between databases and data warehouse? Better to discuss those scenarios also. For example, this is my data source, means database. Basically, this database is volatile database. Volatile means anytime you can connect it to database and you can modify. So anytime you can modify data in the database means it contains only current data. Only current data will be there in these databases. So what is the tool you are going to work? Data analysis tool, Power BI. So we cannot use this type of data, current data, for data analysis purpose, right? So if you are working with current data to perform data analysis, it is like, time consumption will be there. So this type of issues, performance related issues will be there. That's why we are not going to use that type of data to perform these activities. So we need some other environment which maintains historical data. Historical means without modifications, non-volatile. Volatile means what? Modifications. We need some environment where we can avoid these modifications. We can maintain historical data. That we call it as a data warehouse database. So this is a non-volatile environment. So what we are doing, we are going to copy data from data source to data warehouse environment. Data source to data warehouse environment. Right. And so the major difference between data source databases, and data warehouse is volatile and non-volatile. So because of non-volatile property in data warehouse environment, we store historical data. So that is required for us to perform data analysis. That means suppose you copy data from different data sources to data warehouse environment. After that, you cannot make any changes to data. If data is there in the source, then only you can modify it. If data copied from source to data warehouse environment, you cannot make any modifications. Right? And So data warehouse environment is especially for data analysis purpose, report creation purpose. Okay, that is data warehouse. So now my next question is, I said like Power BI is related to data warehouse. Power BI is related to what? Data warehouse. So how it is related to data warehouse? Let us see that now. See, for example, this is your Power BI environment. So what are the operations we are going to perform in Power BI from the beginning? From the beginning, what type of operations we are going to perform in Power BI? Copy data. In the beginning, we are going to copy data from different data sources to Power BI environment. So copy data is not going to modify anything. For example, you have some table in the source. You are going to copy table from source to Power BI. That is not going to modify, right? So copy data is not going to make any changes to your database on volatile. So copy data is not going to modify, right? Next scenario. Transform data. So generally transform data, next DAX, next visualization creation. So generally these are the major operations we are going to perform in Power BI. Okay, fine. But the thing is, Power BI also non-volatile environment only. We are not going to make any changes to data even in Power BI. But when I'm talking about copy data, transform data, DAX data, you feel like data is going to modify. That is not correct. I'll tell you the reason. So copy data I already explained. Transform data. Basically, we use transformations to bring data into required format. See, simple scenario. After copying data or while copying data, you are going to work with the transformations, right? For example, we have some table products in this source, and this table contains some column sales amount. Now, I'm going to copy same table from source to Power BI. Products table with what? Sales amount column. Okay. It is not plain copy. So plain copy directly copy and save. That's all. But it's not. It's not plain copy. We have something different requirement here. Suppose sales amount is greater than 3,000, then only copy. I got my requirement right? Suppose sales amount is greater than 3,000, then only copy. Otherwise, don't copy. Then what to do? I write some condition. See, there we have some condition there. What is the condition? Sales amount is greater than 3,000. By writing this condition, we are going to copy data, required data. So what happens? Only salary greater than 3,000 data will be, sales amount greater than 3,000 data will be copied. That means what you are doing here, you are just copying only required data from source to Power BI. Are you modifying anything? Anybody please tell me? Are you modifying anything here? No, we are not modifying anything. It is not modifying anything. Just what it is doing, it is copying only required data. So it is non-volatile operation. So this type of operations are comes under transformations. What it is? Transformation. Right? And so next scenario, now it's clear. Transformation is not going to modify anything. This is only for data transformation purpose. I mean, bring data into required format purpose only. No doubt. Right? Coming to next scenario, DAX. DAX stands for data analysis expressions. Formula language. We use DAX for data related calculations purpose. Right? In databases, we are going, not databases, in Power BI environment, we are going to perform calculations. Different types of calculations we are going to perform. You can ask some question here, sir, why we perform calculations in databases, tell me. In data warehouse, tell me. Common questions. For example, you copied products table with sales amount column from source to Power BI. So now you are going to create some report. See, what is the final scenario we are doing in Power BI? Report creation only, dashboards creation only, right? Finally, in Power BI, what we are going to do, tell me, reporting. Report creation, dashboard creation, we are going to do. Right? Okay, fine. You copied data, you transformed it. Now you are going to create some report. You have sales amount column, but this is monthly sales amount. What type of sales amount column is available? Monthly sales amount is available. But your report, you need yearly sales amount. Sales amount into 12. You are doing some calculation here. What's the calculation? Sales amount into 12. Because you need annual sales amount to create report. You don't have annual sales amount in our environment. You have only monthly sales amount. So you have to do some calculation. So doing like this. But we do this calculation by using DAX function. Right? And by using DAX functions only, we are doing these calculations. So is it going to modify anything in the database? No. It is not modifying anything. So totally what I'm trying to explain, Power BI is pure data warehouse environment. In Power BI, we are not going to perform any data modifications because it is non-volatile environment. You just perform copy data, transform data, DAX data, any type of operations. But ultimately, these are only for bring data into required format because we are going to create reports, dashboards, some format of the data is required for us. For that format of the data, we are going to perform transformations and DAX functions. Got my point? And next, visualization area. Visualizations means what? Creating reports. Different types of reports we are going to create. Right? In the same way, need more clarity on this Power BI environment, what we are going to do.
Your voice is breaking, sir.
How is it now? Is it okay now? Okay.
Yes, sir, it is fine now.
Right. So generally in Power BI environment, we are going to work with the different scenarios like this. Right. And in the beginning, we have some data source. For example, what is our data source? For example, SQL Server database. Just assume from SQL Server data source, we are going to copy data into Power BI desktop environment. What is the tool name? Power BI desktop. So whatever the operations I discussed till now, like copy data, I'm sorry, transform data, tax data, creating visualization, these are all we are going to perform in Power BI desktop only. So major development we are going to perform in Power BI by using desktop only. So after finishing your development here, you are going to publish your work. Whatever you developed, you are going to publish. Because why we are developing all these things, tell me? Because of customers. Right? Okay, now? To share customers, we are going to do these development activities. So from Power BI desktop, you cannot share anything to customers. This is only for development purpose. So after finishing development, you're going to publish. Your published work is going to store in Power BI service. From Power BI service, we are going to share them to customers. Even we are going to create a dashboard in this service environment only. So dashboard means what? It is collection of different visualizations, related visualizations. So this is a user environment, end user environment. Some application will be there, some other environment will be there. Now what you are doing, you are developing these things here, you are going to publish them to service, right? And from service, you are going to share them to users. See, your important thing is coming to desktop environment. Here only we have building blocks of the Power BI. So building blocks of the Power BI are Power Query, Power Pivot, I'm sorry, and Power View. Power BI development means these activities only. No doubt. Power Query, Power Pivot, and Power View. So Power Query means transformations area. This is transformation area. Power Pivot means DAX. DAX, data modeling, creating relationships between tables, defining cross filters. These are all comes under power pivot. So this area is purely related to data operations. That's why we say copy data, transform data, DAX data. We are going to perform these tasks directly on data. Because before going to create report, you have to bring data into your required format. Because see, you are working with some scenario, some project means some requirements will be there, right? Based on requirements only, you are going to work. Then we have Power View also. Power View means what? Visualization creation. So Power View concept is different. That means overall Power BI development, we have data related operations and visualization creation operations. Right. So now coming to next scenario, prerequisites. What are the prerequisites there for this training? SQL queries part is required. Transformations, DAX, purely coming from SQL queries part. No doubt. In the same way, data warehouse concepts knowledge is also required for us. See, SQL queries we are going to discuss in this training only. Data warehouse concepts also we are going to discuss in this training only. Right? So you no need to go for some other training. In the same way, if you are ready to learn complete SQL developer, Power BI participant can attend complete SQL development class also. Right, and that is also available in this institute, Durga. Clear? But remember, you go for data warehouse or database related scenarios, whatever it. Database development or data warehouse. SQL queries knowledge is required, no doubt. Some people says that if you know basics of the SQL, you can work. How can you work? You are going to work with real-time environment. Basic knowledge, how can you perform operations still? Am I right or not? Straight question. Got my point. So these are all. And I said power pivot. Power pivot means we are going to work with the data modeling concept there. Right, Andy? Data modeling concept means we are working with fact table, dimension tables concepts. Because see, those concepts are coming from data warehouse. Because in the beginning we started with the data warehouse. Of course, database we started, then we discussed about data warehouse. So to work with some scenarios of the Power BI, we need data warehouse concepts. That's why we are going to work with those things also. So these are the prerequisites. We are going to discuss prerequisites in this training only, no doubt. So coming to next scenario, we have to discuss more on process. What are the scenarios we are going to discuss, and what we are giving some project also. What project we are giving, what we are going to learn in this project, that and all we'll discuss in tomorrow's class. Same time, same link. Now, that's all for today from my end. Any questions, please go ahead. If you have any questions, please go ahead. Anybody? You can unmute and talk to me, or you can send messages also. We have chat facility. Please. Tomorrow's class, I'm going to discuss more on these things, somewhat related to real-time scenarios also. I'm going to discuss in tomorrow's class. Please go ahead. Any questions, please? What happened there? No questions? Nobody asking questions?
Yeah, I have one question. Hello, hello, hello.
Yeah, please, Srinu. I can hear you. Srinu, I can hear you.
Yeah, yeah. So when we attend this class, yeah, yeah. When we attend this class, we're going to do some real-time scenarios in the real work environment. Suresh.
See, Srinu, one thing is important. Real work environment you can
Hello.
get easily. See, real work environment you can get only in our job, in our project only. When you are attending any training, don't expect that, frankly speaking. Okay, now what we can provide,
Okay.
we can guide you towards real-time environment, but we cannot show real-time environment because it is training environment, right? Okay, now we are giving project.
Mhm.
Project means you'll get idea. Okay, fine, what we are going to do in real time. Process you are
Okay.
going to learn. Okay, now right?
Okay.
Right. Anybody, please? Any questions? Any? Okay. Right then. Let's do one thing. Let's meet tomorrow with remaining things. After finishing tomorrow's class, you'll get more clarity. Bye. In yesterday's class, we discussed about some scenarios related to Power BI introduction part. And we discussed what are the things we are going to do in Power BI. Clear-cut information we discussed. So today, we are going to discuss about more related scenarios here. Suppose you are going to work with some project, right? in this project. I mean, Power BI related project. I'm talking about Power BI project only. In that project, what are the different scenarios we're going to do? And from where the project is going to start. These are all really important. Now, in the beginning, copying data. We're going to work with different data sources. From data source, we're going to copy data, then we're going to transform. Different things will be there. So here important scenario is so we have some data source, Power BI desktop, Power BI service, end user related scenarios. Suppose this is your data source. From this data source, we're going to copy data. Right. And so maximum scenarios, what happens, you are going to work with some data source means it will be database only. Maximum SQL server database will be there. Okay. So coming to next scenario. From data source, we are going to copy data into desktop. In this desktop only, we are going to transform, right? And DAX, different scenarios we are doing it. See, an important point is, for example, we have some table here in the source. Oh, every time why I'm talking about tables, because in RDBMS databases, in the same in Power BI, data is going to store in the form of tables only. There is no other facility, right? In the beginning, we are creating tables and we are going to store data in the form of tables only. That is the point. Clear? And so coming to next scenario. Suppose we have some tables here. You take regular table. Suppose you have employee table and a department table. So in these tables, we have common column department number. Okay, now listen carefully, please. We are going to copy data from employee table, department table. What is the common column we have in these tables? Department number. So here important point is, if you are working with these two tables individually, lot of burden will be there, right? Suppose you have two tables and you are going to work with two different scenarios, means number of operations will be more and even burden will be more on our server. So that is going to create troubles to us. Okay. No? That's why what we are doing, here you have different tables copying from source to Power BI, and here you have common column also. So now we can perform some transformation called as merge transformation. So by using this merge transformation, we can combine data from these tables. Suppose here you have two tables, right? You are going to copy data from these two tables. And what we are doing, we are going to combine the data. So how we are going to combine the data here? By using transformation merge. So why we are going to combine the data? See, working with less number of tables always better than working with more number of tables. Remember that point. Okay. So here what's happening? Initially, when the data is there in the source, there are different tables. Right, and when data is there in the source, they are what? They are different tables. So multiple tables, right? When you're going to copy data and when you perform this combined transformation, merge transformation, right? They are only single table. Okay. So now what's happening, by doing this transformation, merge transformation, we are going to combine the data. In the same way, we are going to minimize number of tables. Am I right or not? We are going to minimize number of tables from 2 to 1. 2 to 1 only. Please check it. Right in. So now after finishing this transformation, merge transformation, if you want to create any report by taking data from single table, you can go for report creation because you combine data. But just assume that you have not done with any merge operation. There are two different tables still. Still there are two different tables. You're going to create report so that you have to access data from two different tables only. Am I right or not? Okay, now. Listen carefully. Very important real-time scenario I'm discussing now. Okay. So an important point is so simple logic. What we are doing here, we are minimizing number of tables. So burden will be minimized. So performance will be increased. That is the key point we are discussing. So after doing this task, generally we are going to create report. If any DAX is required, we perform DAX. Otherwise, we are going to create report. Fine. See, important point is, yesterday I discussed, your data source is volatile and your data warehouse is non-volatile. This is the point we discussed yesterday, right? Some of you attended yesterday's class. Some new participants there today. Non-volatile means, for example, data copied from source to Power BI environment. Done. You performed transformation much, and you go ahead and create report. That's fine. No problem. But after creating report or before creating report, right? Anna? After creating report or before creating report, if source is modified, we have employee table, department tables in the source, we copied them to Power BI. Then only we perform transformation and we created report. That's what we are doing. For example, your source is modified. You created report. Source is modified. Right. Now, whatever the data modified in the source, that should be copied to Power BI. That should be reflected to your report. Right. So why I'm discussing this point, you are new to this environment. Generally, you feel like we copied data, transformed data, created report. There ends the matter. That is not correct. Initially, we are going to take copy of the data from this source. We are creating report. Of course, we are performing transformations DAX. After that, refresh will be there. So refresh means whatever the modifications done in the source, they should be copied into Power BI. They should be reflected into report and visualization and dashboards also. So that is the importance of transformation. Not only much transformation, we have different types of transformations there. Basically, much transformation is joins concept of the SQL. In yesterday's class, I discussed some points. What are the prerequisites there for Power BI? SQL Server queries part and data warehouse concepts. So these transformations coming from SQL only, SQL queries only. Right. So now we got some idea what we are doing with the transformations. Okay. So after that, we are going to work with some DAX. For example, DAX also I'll give you some scenarios. Suppose you have source here. From source, you have some table employee. Okay. The employee table means generally what will be there in employee table, employees information will be there, data. You copy table from source to desktop, Power BI desktop. So employee table, salary column, there is no null value. Commission column, we have null value. So now you want to do some report, you want to create some report, that is in that report you want to go for total salary. What is total salary? Salary plus commission is comes under total salary. That is the meaning, right? You have salary and commission means what is the meaning of total salary? Salary plus commission. In this scenario, so now we cannot perform any type of operation with the null values because nobody knows what is the value of null. Suppose I'm doing it like salary plus commission. If commission is null, total value you are going to get it as null. There is no null value in there is no null value in salary column, but you are doing operation with null value, right? So you'll get total null. Right? So that is really important for us. So here we have to do some conversions or calculations. But still, because see, I want to complete this task here. I want to work with the commission from commission salary plus commission. Contains null values, but still I want to work with that. How to do that task? You got my point, right? So in this case, what you are doing, here you are going to use some function. Suppose E is null of commission comma 0. This is null function is going to convert null value into 0. For example, you have null value in the commission column, then it is going to convert. Is null function is going to convert null value into 0 temporarily. Up to completion of this query. So if that query execution completes, then you are going to finish your task, right? For that, we are using DAX, data analysis expressions. DAX functions. What is is null? Is null is functional. Is null is functional. We are working with DAX functions only. Purpose of the DAX. So then you're going to create visualization, report. Even you know one thing, after completion of this, if any modifications done in the source, those modifications will be copied to Power BI from source. In the same, they'll be copied to DAX, then they'll be copied to report also. That we call it as refresh concept. Tomorrow I'm going to discuss that refresh concept. Refresh data. Refresh data means copy latest modifications done in the source to Power BI environment. If you already created report with that data in Power BI, even that report also gets modifications, refreshed modifications. Right, Annie? So these are really important. So coming to next scenario, yesterday I discussed some points here. Data modeling concept, Power BI modeling. What is that Power BI modeling? 1 second. So modeling means relationships between tables. Previously, we discussed about joins, merge. That is not relationship. So different tables data you are going to combine. That's what we did. But now the scenario is different. Here what we are doing, suppose you have employee table, department table, common data, department number, common column. Right, Andy? So you are going to copy everything. Employee table, department table with common column, you are going to copy. From source to Power BI. Right, Andy? Even after copying, you're going to store those tables in Power BI environment permanently, right? So there also we should go for relationship between tables. Because these tables contains common data, right? And common column. So relationship between tables we are going to establish. Previously I discussed about merge concept, that is different concept. Merge concept is different. because merge combined data. Now we are not going to combine. They are separate tables, different tables only. Even inside Power BI also, we are going to store them as different tables only. But relationship we are going to establish. What is the advantage of creating relationship between tables? Number of operations are going to minimize. For example, you are creating some report. Generally, in Power BI environment, you are going to create report means you are going to use data from different tables for creating that report. You are going to use data from different tables to create that report, you know. So then these tables are related tables. Then time consumption is going to minimize, right? Easy access will be created, right? So that means performance will be increased. Performance means what? Speed. Report speed will be generated. That is what client required. You are creating report. Report creation is not enough. Lot of things you need to provide to that report, especially, you know, security, performance, these things. Security is different thing that we can do, no problem. Performance is important. Accessing speed is important. How you are going to provide it? So these are all. There are many ways to improve performance, right? And so the major scenarios I discussed yesterday, building blocks of the Power BI. What are the building blocks we discussed? Power query, Power pivot, Power view. Power query transformation area. Power pivot means relationships between tables, modeling, DAX, that and all comes under that. Then report creation. Suppose you created some report. Different scenarios will be there in this report creation. Creating report, then formatting report, then filter report. Three different scenarios you are going to work in the report. So you are going to take data and creating some report here. Then you have to format visualization. Different themes, different layouts, backgrounds, colors, fonts, size. So general formatting, visual formatting, different things will be there. You have to make that report attractive, right? That we are going to do with formatting. Then filtering data inside report. Suppose you created some report. How to filter data? For example, now we discussed different employees, different departments. So you created report with all employees, all departments data. Now there is some person, some user wants to see particular department number related data. So you have to provide access to that department number data only, right? So this type of requirements will be there. For that we are going to use filters, filtering data. So previously I discussed some points, transformation. So DAX also given some real-time example. And now this filter concept, group by class, where class, having class, after by class, these are all filters only, right? So these are all coming from SQL Server queries part only. Right? So Power Query, Power Pivot to Power View. Same order we are going to follow. Suppose you created some report, then if you want to make changes to that report, you can edit that report. You can edit and you can make changes to the report. That is also possible, don't worry. In the same way, this is desktop, right? Here, whatever the things up to now I discussed in today's class, we are going to perform them in this desktop environment only. So after finishing your work from here, you're going to publish it into Power BI service environment. This is service. This Power BI service, I can say it is like, to share your work to customers. To share your work to customers. In the same way, dashboard creation is also really important. So maximum projects we are going to create dashboards. Dashboards we can do in Power BI service only. Here only sometimes we are going to create deployment pipelines. Deployment, what is the deployment pipeline? Development to, then testing, then production. So in the beginning, development will be done. Then it goes to test environment. Then it goes to production. So the deployment pipelines creation and creating apps. Apps creation is important. So app means what? It contains some visualizations and dashboards. Collection of visualizations, dashboards already developed. We call them as apps. Right? And even in real time, what happens, if you're working with real time project, sometimes they will develop their own visualizations, dashboards, and they are going to give them to us in the form of content, like for example, organizational apps, organizational services. What they contains, visualizations, reports, and dashboards they contains. We can use them. We can design them or we can arrange them for the customer's purpose. So these are all we are going to work here. After finishing these things, we are going to work with integration. Integration means generally we are not going to do anything. Nowadays we got some concept here. Embedding Power BI visualization with some application. For example, I give you a simple example. Suppose you are attending some exam, online exam. How you are writing exam? By using some application. They will give you some user account, you are connecting to their application and you are going to finish your exam. Am I right or not? In this scenario, after finishing your exam, they will give you some report there. So total marks, percentage, where you scored more, where you scored less. This type of graphs kind of visualizations they are going to give you. Where you are accessing those visualizations in the application only. But those visualizations not created in application. Application is just user purpose, user access purpose. Right? And So they are developed in some reporting tool, like for example, Power BI, based on the data. That is really important for us. So how to embed that report? Like just information. Your role is up to service only. Embed is not related to Power BI developer. But still, if you know something extra, that will really good for you, right? So little bit about embedding Power BI reports, Power BI dashboards into applications. Internal users purpose, sectional users purpose. So what are the licenses required? What are the security scenarios required? Something real-time environment. So these type of things we are going to discuss under this training. End-to-end training. So at the ending, I'm going to give you some projects for practice purpose. One or two projects I'm going to provide you. You can use them for practice purpose. Clear? So these are all we are going to do. So I think you got some clarity now, end to end, what we are doing in Power BI. The major scenarios of the Power BI development are copy data, transform data, DAX data, and visualization creation, dashboard creation, publishing. These are all comes under major scenarios. So if you know something about app design, creating app, designing means it's not like application development and you don't worry about the coding or kind of nothing. App designing means what you developed some visualization, some reports, some dashboards. By using them, you're going to create some application, app. We're going to do that. We're going to develop it. So you'll get more knowledge there, more idea about real-time environment. How you're going to work out the things in real-time environment. That is required for us. Subject is okay, no problem. If you're practicing, you'll get subject, no doubt. But scenario is important, right? Even DAX also will go for in-depth of the DAX. We have different types of DAX functions, differences between DAX functions, depth of the DAX. These are all we are going to discuss. So now tell me if you have any questions related to this training, please. Any questions, please? Anybody? Amit, Ashish, Srenu, Vaibhav, Vijay, you attended yesterday's class. But other participants are new to this. Vinith and Vikas. Vikas, you attended yesterday's class? Tulasi new, I think. Sarita also new.
No, sir.
Dhananjay. All right. Any questions, please?
I actually wanted to ask, but I didn't want to disturb you before. So when I registered for this, today was the first class. That's what I was assuming.
See,
But
yesterday I discussed the introduction part, Vikas. Don't worry about that. You have not missed anything, okay?
okay,
Just what is database, what is data warehouse, those things only I discussed. We will give you that recording also. Don't worry about that, okay? No?
okay. Um, Only question being like in the future when we are to do the project and everything, I was reading the prerequisites were SQL Server knowledge beforehand.
Yes, yes.
So how much of that would play a part in this?
Actually, SQL Server complete queries knowledge is required because we have different types of query concepts in SQL environment. All those query concepts required for us. Because of that reason only, in Power BI class, we are going to discuss SQL. And if you want, you can attend separate SQL class also. Complete SQL Server training you can attend if you have free time. So that we are doing morning 6 o'clock now. Power BI, sorry, SQL Server development class. Complete end-to-end SQL development will be there. And Power BI class at 5 p.m. Okay, no? Right.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Anybody, please? Any questions? Okay. Let's do one thing. Let's meet tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to start with Power BI scenarios. Okay, na? Right then. See you. In yesterday's class, we discussed about some scenarios like complete details about the project environment and how it is going to work in real time. Every scenario we discussed in the last session, yesterday's class. And coming to next case, we are going to discuss about introduction part of the Power BI practical environment. I mean, Power BI desktop. The major tools in Power BI environment we are going to work are Power BI desktop, Power BI service. Okay. So Power BI desktop is for development purpose. Complete development activities of the Power BI we are going to perform in Power BI desktop environment only. Okay. So I'll show you how to install Power BI desktop. Even I'll help you in SQL Server installation also. You don't worry about that. And coming to next scenario. Basically, in Power BI environment, real time we are going to work with licensed software. But now, practical purpose in this training environment, we are going to work with free software. So we have different versions of the Power BI. Now, what are the versions there? Kiran, tell me, Kiran. Any questions? Right. Free version, pro version, and premium version. So these are the different versions of the Power BI we have. So coming to next scenario. Free version, directly we can download it from official website of the Microsoft Corporation. And we can use it for practice purpose. No doubt. Coming to next step. Pro version, premium version. Pro version of the SQL Server, premium version of the SQL Server, they are, licensed softwares. So generally when you're working with real-time environment, real-time project, so we are going to work with the pro version of the SQL and premium version of the SQL. Sorry, Power BI. That's okay. See, pro version, premium version, licensed. That means if you want to work with those versions, you have to purchase license. Then only you can work with them. That's fine. But when we are going to work with the pro version and premium, what is the difference between pro version and premium version? So that is really important. Forget about free. Free means that is only for practice purpose. Real time purpose we cannot use. Project purpose we cannot use free version of the SQL Power BI, right? Coming to next scenario. Now, pro version, generally what happens, when you are working with the gigabyte size of the data, hundreds of the users, right? And in that scenario, we are going to work with the pro. I mean, middle level cost. Premium version, when you are working with the terabyte size of the data, in the same way, thousands of the users, then you are going to work with the premium version of this Power BI. But what is going to change means, yesterday we discussed about some scenarios. Storage capacity, number of users. That is really important. Right? Pro version, premium version. So the only difference is like, storage capacity in the same way. User capacity, number of users. So this point is really important in the beginning. And coming to next scenario. Initially, you're going to create some data set. Data set in the sense of data, whatever the tables that and all you're going to copy from source to Power BI environment, we call it as data set. So now, coming to next scenario. One second, 1 minute, please, all of you. Right. Coming to next scenario. Now, you're copying data, you're going to create data set inside Power BI. Okay. So two things we have to discuss here. Because we're in the beginning only. Better to maintain clarity from the beginning. Otherwise, what happens, it is going to create a lot of confusion. Here we have something like a data source. Assume that your data source is SQL Server. So in the same way, this is your Power BI environment. Okay, na? Fine. You're going to copy data from data source to Power BI environment. So I said like data source is SQL Server. What is SQL Server? Microsoft RDBMS database. How data is going to store in Microsoft RDBMS databases tables format. Maintain clarity. So you are going to copy data from data source to Power BI. Means you are going to copy table from data source to Power BI. Clear? Right? Even in Power BI environment also, data is going to store in the form of tables only. Right? And so now next question we can ask, like, what table contains? Generally, table contains structure and data. Structure means columns, data means rows. Okay, better what is structure, what is data, that also I'll give you clarity. See, for example, here we have some table. Suppose table name is what? Products. So in this table, we have different columns like this. Suppose column 1, column 2, column 3, column 4, like this. Okay, na? So now this area is comes under structure of the table. Right, Annie? Structure of the table. See, after creating structure, what we are doing, we are going to insert data into table like this in the form of what? Rows. So this is rows. That's why we say like what is table means it is collection of columns and rows. We say like that. So this area is comes under what? Data. So this is structure of the table. This is data of the table. Structure means what? Columns. Data means what? Rows. Got my point, all of you? So maintain clarity. So now coming to next scenario. We have table here. Table contains these things. The same table we are going to copy from source to Power BI. And structure and data. Everything is going to copy from source to Power BI. So coming to Power BI environment, we call structure as metadata, rows data as physical data. Okay, Nene? So little terminology is going to change between our data source and the Power BI. So in SQL environment, we call it as structure, and coming to Power BI environment, we call it as metadata. In the same way, in SQL environment, we call it as data. Coming to Power BI environment, we call it as physical data. Right? Same concept. Concept is not going to change, but terminology is going to change. Okay, na? So this is the point. Okay, that's fine. See, next question is, so format of the data. Format of the data is clear. Table only. Table contains metadata, physical data. And one more important point. You have to concentrate on Power BI. SQL is not so important for us. Query is part important because They are not going to develop any SQL environment, right? Just we are going to take data from SQL environment, but we are going to develop everything in Power BI environment. So concentrate on Power BI environment. And coming to next scenario, format of the data is clear. Tables format. Even terminology is also clear. Metadata, physical data, done. Right? And but what is storage mode? Where inside Power BI, where the data is going to store? Why I'm asking this question, you know? SQL server is database. Purpose of the SQL server is data storage only, right? And purpose of the SQL server is data storage only. So no need to discuss much about that. But coming to Power BI, it is not database, right? It is data analysis and report creation tool. Some data warehouse tool. So in this data warehouse tool, where the data is going to store, that is important. That is my question. See, we have some cloud environment called as Azure. This is from Microsoft only, Microsoft cloud environment only. Azure cloud, right? Metadata is going to store in Azure SQL environment. Physical data is going to store in Azure BLOB format. So BLOB means Azure Data Lake. Physical data is going to store in Azure blob format. Metadata is going to store in Azure SQL format. Remember, here you'll get some doubts. So we don't know anything about Azure because we are working with Power BI development only. Do I need to learn anything about Azure also? No need, because see, storage is different. Storage purpose, separate team will be there. Azure team will be there. They're going to take care of storage. So, but you should know where the data is going to store, right? I'll give you some more information about Azure SQL and Azure Blob when we are going to work with the Power BI service environment. Okay, na? Don't worry about that. And coming to the next scenario. So data related, I mean format related, storage related, everything is clear. Now, fine. Coming to next step. Generally, you started database. I mean, Power BI development means database copy only. Without copying data, we cannot perform any operation in Power BI environment. So, Power BI development is going to start with the copy data only, no doubt. So, let's concentrate on copy data area. So, how to copy data from source to Power BI? What are the different ways we have to copy data from source to Power BI environment? See, assume that there is some table products in the source end. What is the table name? Products. This table contains some columns, sales amount. Of course, we have some other columns also. I'm going to discuss some points related to sales amount from products table. That's why I mentioned that column name there. Fine. So now, okay, forget about sales amount. We'll discuss that later. We have some table products. So 10 rows of the data there in the table, I mean products table in the source. Now you are going to copy products table from source to Power BI. Okay. The different ways are import and direct query. So by using import, by using direct query, we can copy data from source to Power BI environment. Okay, now we can copy data from source to Power BI environment. Okay, fine. So what is import? Let us see. Suppose you are using import, table structure and data. Everything will be copied. Okay, Nandi? Table structure and data, everything will be copied from source to Power BI environment. That is import. See, we can use import for databases in the same way files also. Because sometimes we store data in the form of files in the source. I mean, Power BI developer, sometimes you're going to copy data from databases. Sometimes you're going to copy data from files also. Excel files, Notepad files, Word files, WordPad files. Like this, we have different types of files. Right, Annie? So whether you are going to retrieve data from databases or files, but you can use, I mean, files, you can use import. But see, if you are using import, table structure and data, everything will be copied from source to Power BI environment, and it is going to store in Power BI environment permanently. Right? And that is import. Next step. For example, we are going to copy data from source to Power BI by using direct query. How we are doing this task? Direct query. Then what happens, you know, only tables structure will be copied from source to Power BI. Data will not be copied. Data will be there in the source only. Only structure is going to copy from source to Power BI environment. Here what happens, some connection, permanent connection will be there between your Power BI and your data source because you are using direct query. Got my point, Alf? So in this scenario, physical data we are not going to copy. We are going to copy only metadata. Only metadata, not physical data. And coming to next scenario, one more point. Direct query can be used for only databases. Right? Only for databases. Direct query you cannot use it for file. Right, Andy? So this is what the scenario. Now, okay, fine. Suppose forget about direct query for some time. Right, Andy? Forget about direct query for some time. We used import. So what happened? Table structure, data copied from source to Power BI. Fine. Okay. 10 rows there in the source table. 10 rows copied from source to Power BI environment. Right. Now you did copy. Copying data from source to Power BI is done. Okay. Now what happened? In source environment, data modified. The modified in the sense, suppose somebody inserted 10 rows. See, here the thing is, this area is done. Initially, what happened? You copied table structure and the data from source to Power BI by using import. That is done. Now somebody inserted some rows, suppose for example 10 rows. So that is latest data which is existing in the source table. Now can I copy that new modification or new data from source to Power BI or not? Why not? We can copy. So for that we have some concept called as refresh. Okay, na? Suppose you are going for refresh, you are going to refresh the scenario. Then what happens, whatever the new data, 10 rows inserted into source, modified in source, they'll be copied. Okay, na? So by using this concept, refresh concept, whatever the modifications done in the source, those modifications will be copied from source to Power BI environment. So this refresh concept is also important for us. Because generally, initially what happens, you're going to copy data from source to Power BI. After that, your source is going to modify, right? Your source is going to modify by the users. Then you have to copy those modifications from source to Power BI. For that, we are using refresh. Okay, that is fine. And so we got some idea what is refresh, why we are using refresh, and how it works. Okay, that's fine. But my question is, we discussed two different scenarios to copy data from source to Power BI. Import and direct query. Import and direct query. Can I use refresh for import and direct query or not? This is the question. Import, we can use refresh. The reason I'll tell. See, if you are using import, what happens, the data is going to copy from source to Power BI, right? Data is going to copy from source to Power BI if you are using import. So then if any modifications done in the source, then you have to copy them from source to Power BI. That is import. So refresh is required. Next scenario, direct query. If you are going for direct query, data will not be copied. Only structure will be copied. Then why we need to go for refresh, tell me? Got my point, all of you, right? So if data copied, then if any modifications done in the source, then you have to refresh because you have to copy those modifications from source to Power BI. There you need refresh. But now data not copies when you are working with a direct query, right? Then why you need to go for a refresh? Am I right or not? So refresh we do for import. But if you copy some table by using direct query, direct query, no need to go for refresh. Is it clear, all of you? Clear? What is the difference between import and direct query? And what is refresh concept? Clear or any questions, please? Any questions, please? Right? Okay, now? So this is required in the beginning. So the scenarios today we discussed, they are base for Power BI training. Suppose you don't know all these things directly, we are going to start working with Power BI, then there will be no use. You should know what's happening, right? So we have different
Sir,
scenarios. Yeah, tell me.
hello.
Samar.
Then what is the use of the direct query?
Direct query, actually, I wanted to explain more on direct query when we are going to do it practically, mostly tomorrow. But anyhow, you asked a question. When we are going to copy whose data, because see, sometimes tables we can expect gigabyte size of the data also, right, Samar? Okay, no?
Yes.
In that case, we use generally direct query because to avoid space issues in BI environment, Power BI. Power BI environment. In the same way, from source, you want to get data by writing some query-based data extractions. In these scenarios, we are going to use direct query. Up to 1 GB size of the data, tables, whatever it. Generally, we go for import only. We will not go for direct query. Got my point? Clear?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Right. Any questions? Anybody, please? Right. This is the way. So next step, we have to go for Power BI desktop installation and work with remaining things. Let's do one thing. I'll show how to download Power BI desktop and how to go for installation. I'm sorry. In the same way, copying data concepts. And before going to copy data from the source, we have to create some report project in Power BI. Those are all I'll discuss in tomorrow's class. Okay. I think tomorrow's class, they're going to change link and contact training team. In the same way,
I have a question. Can I use?
yeah, tell me, Kiran.
Only we are using SQL Server only database, or some other database also possible to connect to the
we can go for a lot of data sources. Once we start Power BI, I can show you. But not only SQL Server, we can work with other data sources also, other databases also. No problem, right?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So that's the point. And tomorrow morning 6, we are going to start SQL fresh batch. Power BI participants can attend if you have free time. You can attend morning 6 o'clock SQL development class also. Okay, na? Contact training team. Right, and see you tomorrow then. Bye bye. So while connecting to SQL server, this is your server name. Copy this server name. And now I'm going to open Power BI desktop environment. This is the tool we are using to interact with the Power BI environment. So we are in the beginning only, so close this window.
So actually today's session was this one, no? To how to download and install all these, correct? That is,
Yeah, that we will do. Wait, okay, na?
Yeah.
So this is the environment. This is called as Power BI desktop. So Power BI desktop. Here we have different options. We are going to work with them. So this is pure development environment of Power BI. So coming to next scenario. How to get this tool? How to install this tool? Yesterday we discussed about different versions, different editions. Everything we discussed in the last session. Right. So go to Google website. Here type it as Power BI desktop download. So open this website. See this, we are recording this website name here. Please check it. Okay, na? So scroll down here. Go to this. Download. Select 64-bit. Right, and go to next step. It is downloading now. Please wait. In the same way, you just download and install SQL also. Durga Sub training team will give you SQL Server installation videos. Okay, na? By following them, you can do that. Right. Open this file. Wait, it will open. Why it is taking time here?
Sir?
Yeah.
Yeah. So for the SQL Server, what is the timing for this batch actually?
What is the
For the SQL Server, so
class?
what is the timing? Yeah.
4 p.m. now. After some time, new batch will start again.
Okay. Okay. So we have to come to the new batch only, correct?
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I joined today, so it is already many courses over. I think we are doing the joint thing, correct? So wanted the new batch.
Okay, no problem. Right, why it's not opening? Wait, I'll do it again now. Let's go to,
Sure.
so downloaded, right? Go to downloads, right? I think there is some issue, it seems, with this file we downloaded. Retry is also not working. Let's do one thing. I'll download it again and I'll show you. Okay, but we'll do later. Now, it's simple to install. You go to this environment. So in this environment only, we are going to perform development activities, right? So coming to next scenario. Right side, you can see fields. Under fields only, we can work with metadata. We can see metadata. For example, you connected to source and you copied some tables from this source, right? And you connected to some source and you copied data from some source. So metadata, you can see here for that table. Metadata means what? Table names, column names. We discussed in the last session, right? Table names, column names comes here. If you come to left side, you can see report view, data view, and model view. Data will come here, right? And coming to next scenario. In this area, you can create different types of reports. Now here you can see visualizations. These are the different types of visualizations we are using for creating this report project. So different types of visualizations available as per your requirement, right? You can work with this. And coming to next scenario. Now, here you can see get data window. If you go to get data window, you can see different data sources. So by connecting to these data sources only, we can copy data. In the same way, before going to copy data from this source, we have to can you hear me now? All of you can hear me?
Yes, yeah, we can hear.
Right. Before going to copy data from the source, to create a code project. So for that, go to File, Save As, provide some project name. You just take some location and provide some project name. Suppose I'm giving project name as 5 p.m. How this file is going to store with .pbix extension. What is the extension of this file is going to get? .pbix is the extension, Power BI file, PBI means. Right, and you just can save button. This project save. Created here now. Okay. So coming to next scenario. In this project only, we are going to perform different types of activities. So if you want to perform any task in this, go to get data window, source now SQL Server provide a source database name, provide source, server name, database name. So while connecting to SQL Server Management Studio, I